People told me I couldn't do a lot of things.
I feel like I'm the chosen one.
Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here. All we are is proud and passionate. I love Toronto. I love this team. And we're going to the NBA Finals. Let's go!
Nothing matters but winning.
You're going to the NBA Finals for the first time in your career.
Canada, the NBA title is yours. The Toronto Raptors are the 2019 NBA champions.
Welcome back to episode 9 of Rapzville Weekly. I'm your co-host, Gabriel Chelio, along with my other co-host,
Adam Pasucci.
And today we are going to be doing the top 3 Raptors players of all time per position. Just like we did last episode, this time we're going to cut it down to top 3, and this is strictly Raptors players. So starting off with point guard, number 1, we have Kyle Lowry. So me and Adam are going to share a list, and we kind of have the exact same mindset here. So number 1, we got Kyle Lowry. I think there's nothing more to say than this guy. He's a bulldog. He's a fantastic player. He's shown great loyalty. He's been with us for countless seasons, and he's grown tremendously as a player. We've seen him be a 6-time All-Star, NBA champion, All-NBA third team, and he's done a lot for this franchise. He's second most games played, third most points scored, the first most in assists, and the first most in steals. He is got everything about him. He can shoot the 3-ball. He can drive. He's a phenomenal playmaker, a great defensive player. Does a lot of things that don't show up in the stat sheets, like we talked about last episode. The steals, the charges, the deflections, the diving passes, just keeping the momentum high. And when, like Adam said last episode, when Lowry plays his best game, when he shows that he wants to win, the team responds, and we play just as good. You saw in game 6 of the NBA Finals against Golden State, he came out on that hot start, and that led the momentum for us to win that final game and win the series. So it is clear to me that he is number 1, in my opinion, as the top point guard for our franchise. He's been here the longest, and he's done the most for our city, and definitely brought a lot of fan support. So for number 2,
no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt, really. For number 2, we have Damon Stoudemire. So he was our first ever point guard, first ever franchise player, and he was brought in by Isaiah Thomas because he wanted a floor general like himself. And he was a very good player for his size. I believe he was 5'9", a little undersized, but he did his job. He was a great passer, great scorer. He was here for a couple of seasons, and he scored approximately, while he was here, about 20 points per game every season, 8 to 9 assists per game, and that's just off his first couple of years in the league. He's 5th on our assist list and top 10 steals. Obviously, we haven't had the longest history. We've only been around for 25 years, so for that time given, I believe he was a very good point guard, and for me, he's at number 2, just passing Jose Calderon for number 3. Jose Calderon also been here for many years. He's had a lasting legacy, and he is a great passer. He's got 4th most in games played, top 10 in points scored in the franchise, 2nd in assists, and top 10 in steals. Another player, he wasn't here during the best of years for the Raptors. A couple seasons we didn't make the playoffs, and eventually he was let go, but he was here for quite a long time, and definitely a player that people remember and fans grew to love for his passing ability. And for our franchise right now, he is number 3. And we will be giving some special acknowledgments later to some other good players, but I think this top 3 is kind of unanimous for the point guards. Would you agree, Adam?
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. He ran the show for a lot of years, Jose Calderon, and he's been a leader with the Raptors franchise as well.
Yeah. So shooting guard now. Number 1, we have DeMar DeRozan. Obviously, people would agree with this, that he's been here for tons and tons of years. I believe 9 seasons with us. 4-time NBA All-Star, 1-time All-NBA second team, 1-time All-NBA third team. He's first most in the games played for the Raptors, first most for points scored, 3rd on the most assists, and 3rd most in the steals. So clearly he dominates a lot of our record categories. He also holds the highest points in a single game with 52, I believe. He dominates a lot of our stats because he's been here for such a long time, and he's had a lasting legacy in the league, and it was sad to see him go this season. But fans will not forget the work he's done for our city, bringing a lot more spotlight and love to the city of Toronto just off of his great play. And he's developed tremendously. He started off as a young rookie kid, and he had to follow under Chris Bosh's wing, and as Chris Bosh left, he had to take the reins, and he did a good job of stepping up, showing some leadership for his team, and developing a playoff contending team. We had to get rid of him in order to get our championship, and it was a smart move by Masai. But obviously, in his time while he was here, he was a great player. He has a lot of skill, and I think it's clear that he is the top shooting guard that's graced our franchise. So for number 2, now we have Tracy McGrady. For me, Tracy McGrady falls under here just off of, we're talking about top 3 Raptors players per position. Obviously, McGrady, one of those players that it wasn't here during his prime years, but he was a big name to grace our franchise, and we did draft him, and we watched this come up these first 3 seasons, and he slowly got better. And it started off a little shaky, and that's because he came out of high school, and he wasn't ready for the league just yet. I know he used Kobe as a mentor. They were good friends, and he kind of developed and got more confident as the years went on. And as he left, he became really good in Orlando. But he was definitely a big name to grace our franchise. He's 8th on the blocks list. And just off of skill alone, I believe he's the second top shooting guard that we have ever had. And I know that this list is going to be, some players that have played at the franchise either during their prime or have been here based off of loyalty reasonings. But we can't give it to players like Hakeem Olajuwon, who came during their last season just because. But obviously, he's a phenomenal player during his prime. But we're going to talk about these players as they were on the Raptors. So for number 3, shooting guard, final position for the shooting guard, spot for the shooting guard, we have Doug Christie. So Doug Christie was here for 5 seasons, and he could do it all. He averaged about, when he was here, 15 points per game, 4 assists per game, 4 to 5 rebounds per game. He was 2nd on the steals list, 7th on assists, and top 10 in points. So he definitely made his mark while he was here. A great overall player during his time on the Raptors, and definitely very skilled. And just for how long he's been here and the numbers that he's put up, he's my clear number 3 spot for shooting guard. So now taking that to small forward, for our number 1 position, it was a little bit of a toss-up between Carter and Leonard, but we gave it to Vince Carter, clearly just off of how many years that Carter has been with us. And, he got drafted here. He grew here. He had phenomenal years, rookie season, sophomore season. I believe one year he averaged 27 points per game. He put up fantastic numbers, put Toronto on the map, won the dunk contest while we were here. He versus Cousin in that. Overall, he's a multiple-time All-Star, and he was the Rookie of the Year his first season. He's 4th on most points scored for the Raptors, 4th for most blocks. He dominates a lot of our records, 51 points in a single game. He had the record for a while, tied with T. Ross until DeRozan surpassed him. But he dominates a lot of our records and stats because of his mark he left in the franchise. He did a lot while he was here. He played tremendous basketball, made the playoffs a couple times, and I believe the loyalty is what takes him over the edge from Leonard, who is our number 2 spot. Kawhi Leonard obviously came here, won a championship with us. That does basically all the talking that needs to be done. He could almost be the number 1 just off that alone. But we're going to give it to Carter just for the legend, the mark he's left on our team, and the records he holds and the years he spent here, the loyalty that he had for while he was here. Obviously, he left in a pretty crappy way, but he was here for longer, did more for the franchise. Leonard just came and left in 1 year, but obviously he won a championship, and Leonard is a very skilled player, especially he was with us in one of his prime years. So seeing him on here as a clear number 2 spot, could even be argued for number 1 for small forward, but we're giving it to Vince Carter. And that brings us to our final number 3. We have Morris Peterson, also known as Mo Pete. He played with the Raptors for 7 seasons. Overall, good player, good starting player. He's 4th on the steals list for the Raps, top 10 in assists, top 10 in rebounds, 6th in points, and 3rd in most games played. So he's been here for a large number of years during his prime years, actually. And he's done a lot for the franchise, had a bunch of good seasons, put up good numbers, and carries a lot of those high stats and records for the franchise. So I think he's a clear number 3 spot for leaving his mark in the team. I think he's a good third spot for the small forward Raptors all time. Adam, do you have anything to say about the shooting guard or small forward positions? I know we basically have similar mindsets. Any other comments to make about these players?
No, just the debate between Carter and Leonard. Yeah, I agree with you that Carter has the loyalty on Leonard. They both did leave in questionable ways. Yeah. I feel with Leonard leaving in free agency and Carter going to the Nets. Yeah, I feel like Carter does have the edge on Leonard because he has stayed longer, even though he didn't win. the 1 year that Leonard won, I feel it doesn't justify him being number one. So now moving on to our power forward position with Pascal Siakam at number one, ahead of, in the second position, Charles Oakley. He is there because he does have more games, points, and steals than Oakley in his first 4 years at the club. He is just shy in rebounds. He did win the most improved player with us. He also is averaging career high numbers with us, 23.6 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, and 3.6 assists. I do want to speak about his growth, starting at New Mexico State, then moving up to the Raptors 905, then moving into a reserve role at the Raptors, then part of the bench mob, and then part of the starting role. And then now, obviously, we can consider him a star. Obviously, making his first All-Star appearance, which is really good. I feel that it represents the Raptors franchise in terms of working your way from the bottom to the top. He wasn't a lottery pick, being picked first round to 27th overall, and I feel the Raptors did a great job with him, developing him. Because I remember in the early days when he was playing for us, his IQ wasn't really there. He was kind of a raw talent, couldn't shoot the ball, but he grown tremendously, and he really spends the time in the gym working on his game.
Yeah, his defense improved as well. You think back to the Miami Heat game, Wayne Ellington.
Yeah. Yep. No, that was wow. That was a shocking moment for Pascal, but he did learn from it. It was a bad rotational defensive play there.
Yeah, a little collapse on defense.
But but he, I guess, he really put in the work in the gym and really in practice, kind of understanding the schemes that Nurse presents, and he did a great job, I think, in the future.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to number 2, Charles Oakley. A lot of people say he did have better skill than Bargnani. He was brought in to help us just make it to the playoffs. Another experienced guy. He did make it to the playoffs 14 times, so he did have a lot of experience. He is 10th in rebounds on the Raptors. That's why we have him second. And I felt that he was brought in at an important time where we were struggling a bit, and we needed some veteran reassurance and veteran guidance to help us get over that hump. Okay, moving on to number 3, Andrea Bargnani. He's 8th in games played for the Raptors, 5th in points, 7th in rebounds, and 6th in blocks. I mean, he was drafted overall number 1 by us, and we did have high hopes for him. He didn't turn out as good as we have hoped to be, but he did play his part. He did have some good seasons. He didn't have the pieces around him, and we weren't a playoff contender with him. And I feel like he didn't have leadership mentality to be that guy to help us, even when he was young. But yeah, he wasn't a horrible player with us. He just didn't have a lot of pieces, and I feel like that was the issue. And a lot of people say he wasn't good, or I don't know, his skill set wasn't what the Raptors needed. But I feel that it was the pieces around him that weren't good enough.
Okay, so power forward, yeah, I like what you're saying. Siakam, number 1 for me, is clear as day. You know, he's done a tremendous job with this team. He's growing throughout his 4 seasons, like you said, working his way up 905 to bench mob to starter to, superstar and go-to player. He's done a great job offensively, getting his game up. You know, he went from scoring nothing to now dropping like 24 points per game. It's spectacular. He's only getting better. He won an MIP. You know, he puts up almost MVP numbers. He's on his way. And I think clearly he's the best power forward that we've had. If we're going to associate everyone, we're going to put Bosch at center, Davis at center. I think he's clearly the best power forward. And he's only been here for 4 years, so you never know. He's going to keep going up in all those stats and rebounds, blocks, points, games. He's going to keep going up. So eventually, you know, he's going to become one of the best Raptors, I think, to play here with it if he stays for the rest of his contract. Oakley at number 2, I think that's also another great pick. For me, he has the edge over Bargnani just for the fact that, he's better skill-wise. He's helped bring teams to the playoffs, like you said. Bargnani, he had obviously a lot of seasons with us that he didn't make the playoffs, and the franchise as a whole was not doing well at all during those years, but he did put up good numbers individually, so that's where I see. And for his long tenure and the stats and the franchise stats that he holds as games played and stuff, and points. I think that he deserves that spot at number 3, but in my opinion, obviously, for skill-wise and what they meant to the franchise, like during the franchise's success, he's just the number 3 spot for me. And Siakam, he's already taken over Oakley just for the fact that he's already got more games in Oakley, more points in Oakley, and steals, and he's only 4 years in the league, and he's just shy on rebounds, so he's clearly got that edge over everyone and for long years to come.
Okay. Moving on to the center position with Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, he's been with us for a long time, long tenure guy. Obviously leaving to the Miami Heat, but still he did stay with us for a long time. He also was in the second most points for the Raptors, first most rebounds, and first most blocks. And he was a big influence on our franchise, helping players like DeMar develop, and he continued Vince's franchise leader role. All the hype with the Raptors, he kind of continued that, and even though he didn't have the best years with the Raptors in terms of winning and making it to the playoffs, but he did kind of just push us along and get us to where we wanted to be. So I have him at number 1. Second, I have Antonio Davis. He was 3rd in rebounds, 5th in blocks, top 10 in points, helped us get to multiple playoff runs. I mean, we basically traded him and got him for nothing with Bender going to the Pacers. I feel like he was a great player. He was a very high defensive skill set, and he did perform, I think, at the top of his ability with the Raptors in his career. If you look at his other years with the Raptors, he was the best. Okay, Jonas Valanciunas. He was sixth in games for the Raptors, 7th in points, 2nd in rebounds, 3rd in blocks. Valanciunas, he was a fan favorite with us. We loved him. It was sad to see him go from Marc Gasol, but I feel it was best for the team in the championship run. He didn't bring the defensive skill set that Marc has, as well as the IQ, I feel, passing-wise. And Marc can also shoot the 3 ball, which he didn't have. But he had some great years with the Raptors, being drafted by us, coming in and kind of making his mark on the team, coming in with DeMar and Kyle and kind of adjusting there. And yeah, I feel like he had great seasons, and a lot of people were sad to see him go.
For center, Chris Bosh, obviously number 1 for me. Like we said, he leads almost all of our big men categories. He was here for many years, brought a lot of traction as well to the Raptors franchise, was a big name player, and guided some of our younger stars during their first couple of rookie years. He's the biggest name player, I think, out of big men's that we've had in our team, who was here practically during his prime. Obviously, like Akeem, not in his prime, and some of the guys, Davis, Oakley, they're older players. But yeah, I think he was a phenomenal player in general. And Davis also hustle player, good double-double player. And I think legacy-wise, a couple of years making the playoffs, I think he's a better skilled player at our number 2 position over JV. But JV as well, has been here for many years. A lot of seasons with us, a lot of points, games played, rebounds. He's high and blocks. He's high up on all those categories. He's left his mark for his time being here, so I think he's a fitting number 3 position.
Now moving on to the special acknowledgements. Alvin Williams, another guy, top 10 games played with the Raptors. He was 4th in assists, 6th in steals, and he was with us for 9 seasons, a long time. And he did not play 1 season because of injury, and he was just a great role player. He wouldn't wow you with the stats, but he was a great loyal Raptor, and he really played well with us and helped us get to the playoffs on the years that we made it. Next special acknowledgement will be Amir Johnson. He's 2nd in blocks for the Raptors, 3rd in rebounds, 7th in games played. He's a good role player while he was here, and 6 years with us in his prime. So I feel Amir was great with us. He did on a good night get a double. But yeah, he was a great guy coming off the bench and even starting some games. He was just a great player, and he really understood what it took to win. I feel like he was another guy that did a lot of things. Wasn't a flashy guy, but did what it took to win. Marcus Camby. He was a great rookie center for us. He was with us his first 2 seasons, and he scored his most points per game during those seasons. And he was 7th in blocks with us. Now moving on to Serge Ibaka. Serge is obviously 11th in boards, 9th in blocks, still with us, obviously. And he spent 4 years so far. So I think Serge was one of the best pickups, I think. And I think he will be on that center or power list, wherever you want to put him, sooner or later, because I think he was a huge get, and I feel that he brings a lot to this team. Without Serge, I don't think the team functions the way it does. I mean, his defensive aggressiveness, as well as his mid-range jumper, as well as his IQ for the game. A lot of people don't see his IQ, but I feel like he does have a high IQ for a center, and he does have experience. He doesn't do anything flashy, not a crazy highlight guy, but he will get the job done, be efficient, and do what it takes. Fred VanVleet, the last special acknowledgement. He is 12th in assists. It's his 4th season. He's only getting better, and hopefully he will re-sign this season. And he did improve a lot in his rookie season, scoring 2.9 points and 0.9 assists. And now obviously scoring 17.6 points per game and 6.6 assists. So he did make a major improvement, also like Pascal Siakam. And I feel that he did grow as an underdog in the franchise. And like I said, for Siakam, it represents what the Raptors is all about, growing and developing the youngsters and having a high work ethic so they can become and develop into an all-star or a superstar, or even just a great role player if that's what they fit in the team. And that's what I have for special acknowledgements.
Yep, so it's just a comment on those. Alvin Williams, Amir Johnson, obviously 2 good players. They've been here for multiple years, and I think they're good acknowledgements just for the lasting legacy they've left on our franchise, just for how much they've put into the team, how long they've been here, the numbers they put up, the records and stats that they're a part of just because of their long tenure and what they mean to the franchise and during those prime years. You know, Johnson, for many years, it was usually the darker days of Bargnani, but he was here for one playoff run. Alvin Williams as well, another big name player. Marcus Camby. We haven't had the best bigs on our team for our franchise. And Marcus Camby's a name that stands out, who's had a couple good seasons in the league. And with us, he played quite well during his rookie years. And I think Serge and Fred are great ways to end it off. Fred, a great point guard in his time right now. And one day maybe we can see him hit that point guard list if he lasts these years with us, keeps playing, gets up on those stats and records for the franchise. Serge Ibaka as well. I think there's no doubt that he will soon pass JV. If he stays as long as JV did, obviously that's a lot of years, and that's what JV takes the edge, is his tenure. But if Serge Ibaka, he's got a championship under his belt now. If he gets a couple more seasons with the Raps, more games, more blocks, more rebounds, he's going to move up that list for me. I think it's clear as day that he's been a phenomenal power forward / center for this team. This season was great for him. He's continuing to get better, and for the Raptors franchise, he's already been a big name player who's, continuing to get better. Fred VanVleet's on his way up as well, becoming a big name, and one day he's going to, I think, hold that spot as well. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. Special acknowledgements. Good job, Adam. I think those were good players to mention for now, as our team is growing and we got some good players in the come up. But yeah, we hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Hope everyone stays safe during the pandemic and the virus. Thank you all the frontline workers. And yeah, Adam, anything else?
No, that's it. That's it.
All right. That's all. Hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, that's us signing out. Peace.
Peace.